好，那各位伙伴，我们接下来第2天的会议要即将开始。请大家先入座，然后找好自己最舒服的位置。接下来我们要请Beth Terry 呢，要来介绍一下她的武术生活。她的大家来看一下，说她在生活中怎么实践武术的一个生活方式。我们拍手欢迎 Beth Terry。
Hi, I'm Beth Terry. I'm just really happy to be here. I'm so grateful for the Society of Wilderness and Jason for inviting me to come. I am an accountant and I live in Oakland, California. And up until about 7 years ago, I wasn't doing anything environmental at all. I was just going to my job, doing accounting every day, living with my husband and my cats, and buying whatever I wanted, not concerned about what it was made out of. I drank bottled water out of plastic bottles and frozen dinners, microwavable dinners made out of plastic, and bought whatever I wanted and didn't really think about where any of those things came from or where they were going or where they were going to end up. And then one night in 2007, I was sitting in front of my computer browsing the internet, and I stumbled across a picture and an article that changed my life. The article was about ocean plastic pollution. I didn't know anything about ocean plastic pollution. I didn't know it was a problem. And the picture that I saw was of a dead albatross chick on Midway Island. Its body was just completely full of everyday plastic pieces, like bottle caps and the things that I personally used on a daily basis. And what I learned was that the mother birds are flying out over the ocean to gather food for their chicks, and they mistake the plastic for food, and they bring the plastic back and they feed it to their babies, and the babies die with their bellies full of plastic. And this just made me feel so sad and angry too. I mean, I was really mad when I saw this, because at first I was like, why isn't our government doing something about this? Why aren't all these environmental organizations doing something about this problem? Why isn't someone fixing this? And why have I never heard of this? And then I thought for a few minutes, and I thought, what am I doing to be part of this problem? And how can I do something to fix this? And so I started thinking about all the plastic items that I used on a daily basis. And I would like you to do that now. Just think about your day from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night. How many plastic items do you use and do you throw away in the course of your day? And so I decided to do a little experiment to see if I could live without acquiring any new plastic. I actually brought my trash to show you. So I carry this around now around the world. Whenever I travel to give presentations, I bring this. This is 1 year's worth of plastic trash from 2011. It's both the things that can't be recycled and also the things that can be recycled. I collected all of it, and it's just about 2 pounds. And what's in here are the things that I either couldn't avoid or ended up with accidentally. So there's like bubble wrap if I ordered something online and they shipped it with bubble wrap, you know, I usually write to the seller and say, please don't ship my package with any plastic, but sometimes I end up with it anyway. Plastic straw, you know, because when I go to a restaurant, I'll say, please don't put a straw in my drink, but a lot of times they will do it anyway because they're so automatic, right? Straw and drink, straw, 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 straw. This is just a supplement that we give our cats. My cats probably use more plastic than I do. Anyway, what's not in here, you won't find any plastic bags, plastic bottles, plastic cups, plastic knives, fork, spoon, plastic shampoo bottle, or deodorant container, or cleaning product container, or toothpaste tube. I've found all sorts of ways to avoid all of those plastics. And I am clean. I mean, I do brush my teeth, and I do wash myself, but just not with plastic products. So let me go back a little bit and talk a little bit more about the problems with plastic, and then most of this talk is going to be about solutions. So this is Midway. This is where the albatrosses live, and it's just completely full of plastic. But you don't have to go to Midway to see plastic. I mean, we saw plastic on the beach last night. This is an island. This is on Oahu. In Hawaii. This is the northernmost tip of Oahu. And last year I went there for Coastal Cleanup Day, and we tried cleaning this beach. And the way the ocean currents move, it's just constantly bringing in more plastic and more plastic. And I sat in the sand. The problem is that it's not just big pieces of plastic that you can pick up, but little teeny tiny pieces, kind of like what Tracy was talking about yesterday. And so I sat in the sand and I took a sieve and I scooped the sand around me, and I came up with this much plastic just from the sand around me. And you can pass this around if you want. And so that's what affected me. I was really, really upset by these animals, by these baby birds that were eating the plastic. But then as I read more about plastic, I found out that it's not just animals, it's not just birds, but we too are like those albatross birds. Because when we eat foods and drink beverages from plastic, we are consuming the chemicals from plastic. And plastics have lots of different chemicals that can affect our hormones. So, for example, has everyone heard of BPA, bisphenol A? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. And what about phthalates? Has everyone heard of phthalates? These are both chemicals that are endocrine disruptors, which means they affect the hormones in our bodies. And these are chemicals that many organizations are trying to get companies to take out of their plastics. But there are thousands of different chemicals that companies put in plastics to change the various characteristics of the plastic, like how hard it is, or how soft, or how flexible, or sometimes they will put antibacterial chemicals in plastics. Sometimes there are flame retardants. There are all different types of chemicals. And so because, a lot of times companies that used to use bisphenol A, BPA, in their plastics, they want to be able to say that their plastic is BPA free, so they'll use something else instead. And what they use instead might even be worse than BPA. And they don't tell you what it is. That's one of the biggest problems. The plastics industry is very, very secretive, and they don't have to disclose what their recipe is for their plastic, what all the different ingredients are. They don't have to tell anybody what any of that is. And so therefore we don't know what chemicals we're ingesting when we use plastic, when we eat from plastic or drink from plastic. So I decided I was going to try not to eat or drink from plastic anymore. And plastic is also made from fossil fuels. Who can tell me what fossil fuel plastic is made out of? Raise your hand. Or shout it out. Anybody? We talked about this yesterday. What is plastic made out of? I'm going to wait. Just say it. Petroleum? Yes, so some plastics are made from petroleum. And plastics are also made from natural gas. Plastics can be made from any type of fossil fuel. In the beginning, when plastics were first invented, they were made from coal, which is also a fossil fuel. And fossil fuels are running out. You know, they are a non-renewable resource, and also they're very polluting to extract from the earth. So, like I said, I decided to see if I could live without acquiring any new plastic. And to see I wanted to know what my personal plastic footprint was. And so I decided to collect my plastic each week. And so this is my plastic waste from week 1 of my experiment in 2007. I was only using up the plastic that I already had in the house. And this is my plastic from the first 6 months of my project. I had a lot of plastic that I was still trying to use up. And then this is the plastic that I just showed you from 2011. So it took me 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's 4 years, right? It took me 4 years to get it down to that level. I didn't do it all at once. I just went step by step, and that's what I try to teach people and help people learn how to do, is to reduce the plastics in your life step by step by step, and not try to necessarily do it all at once. So sometimes people will say to me, well, I recycle all my plastic, and so I think it's okay to use because I can just recycle it. And the problem with that thinking is that, first of all, recycling does not take care of the issue of toxic chemicals in plastics, right? They're still toxic. Second of all, plastic recycling is better referred to as downcycling, because plastics can't be recycled over and over again. They usually get recycled once into something else. Like, for example, if you have a bottle and you recycle it into a shirt or a polar fleece or carpet or something like that, that's great. But then what happens to that shirt or that carpet when it wears out? And there are a few companies that will take those things back and try to recycle them even further. But usually it all ends up in the landfill or the incinerator or the environment eventually anyway. And the other thing is that some plastic recycling is very environmentally unfriendly. In the United States, where I live, most of our plastic recycling is actually shipped to China. We don't do the recycling in the United States. And there are places in China where the way that they're doing the recycling is very polluting. So to me, it's much more important for us to try to reduce the amount that we're using first. Try to stop using as much plastic before we recycle what's left. So now I want to talk about alternatives and solutions. And I just want to say that I'm going to talk about my experience as someone who lives not just in the United States, but in the San Francisco Bay Area, because even in the United States, every place is different. In the middle of the country, people might have fewer resources than they do in California or in New York or wherever they are. And so I know that you guys have different resources here than I do. So I'm going to use myself as an example and where I live as an example to show you what I do. And then I also have someone that I would like to come up and speak for a few minutes. Ahau. Ahau. I'm saying, is it Ahau?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Because she lives in Taiwan, and she has been reducing her plastic usage significantly, and she also did an experiment to try and collect her plastic waste. And so she's going to be able to tell you about some things that she does right here. So the first thing that I did was I decided I was never going to take another plastic grocery bag ever again. I was always going to have my own bag with me. And a few times I forgot, and then I discovered these. Has everyone seen bags like this? Raise your hand if you have not seen a bag like this before. Raise your hand if you would like a demonstration of a bag. Would you like me to show you? Okay. So this is made by a company called Chico Bags, but there are other companies that make them. And it has a little tiny sack and a drawstring. You just pull the bag out. It's just like a grocery bag. And then when you get home and you take your groceries out, sorry for the noise. Thank you. Okay. Where does that go? There it is. Okay. I should be a flight attendant. So now I have a few of these with me wherever I go. I can have a few of these in my backpack or in my purse at all times, and I'm never without a plastic bag. I mean a reusable bag, not a plastic bag. The second thing was to always have a reusable water bottle with me and a reusable cup for coffee or hot drinks. And I also discovered that I could always bring my own water on a plane. Now, how many people think you can't bring your own water on a plane? Right, because you can't take it through airport security, right? But what you can take through airport security is an empty bottle, or 3. So you bring your bottles empty through the X-ray machine, and then inside the airport, you fill them up at the water fountain. So yesterday I was on a plane for 13 hours to come here, and I had 3 giant bottles full of water that I filled up at the water fountain, and I never had to take any of the bottled water from the plane. And I've seen a lot of this here. I'm really happy to see people bringing their own containers and bringing their own utensils to a conference like this. That's really great. Whenever I go to a restaurant, I try to do that. So if I have leftovers, or if I want takeout and I can ask the restaurant owner to please put the food in my container instead of putting it in their disposable container. And really, it's just a matter of being brave and speaking up and being willing to take no for an answer. Because sometimes they'll tell you no, but sometimes they'll tell you yes, and you won't find out until you ask. So it's just really important to always, always ask. I even have a glass drinking straw that I carry with me instead of taking a plastic straw. When I go for produce, when I go to the farmer's market, I bring my own bags and I try to buy produce that isn't packaged in any type of plastic. When I get berries and cherries and little things like that come in those plastic baskets, where I live, I can take those baskets back to the farmer's market and ask them to reuse it again, and they will take them and they will refill them and keep reusing them. And then I find stores where I can shop in bulk. And I don't know what resources are available here in terms of that, but we have stores where you can buy rice or other grains or beans or nuts, seeds, trail mix, various types of foods that just come loose in a bin. You can bring your own bag and you scoop it out into your bag or even into your own container. And they can deduct the weight of the bag or the container from from the weight of the product, so you're not paying for that as well. And we even have some bakeries where they bake the bread fresh every day, and they sell it without any packaging at all, and so I can bring my own bag. They'll put it in a paper bag if I don't bring my own, but if I bring a cloth bag, they will put it in that. And then I found lots of ways to reduce the plastic in my bathroom. So I use a bamboo toothbrush, and instead of shampoo, there are various alternatives. Let me see if I can get this to work. Yeah. So these right here are shampoo and conditioner bars. They're solid bars that are just like soap, except they're actually shampoo and conditioner. This is a product called Toothy Tabs, which is made by a company called Lush. And they are little tablets that you crunch between your teeth, and then they foam up, and they make, when you add water, they make toothpaste in your mouth. And this is a cardboard box. And I use a metal safety razor instead of a plastic razor. Although when I travel, I do bring my plastic razor because I don't think they let you bring this through security on a plane. I found sunscreen in a glass jar and also in a cardboard tube. And I use baking soda and apple cider vinegar for lots and lots of different things. And you know, sometimes when you can't figure out what to buy because there's something that you want and it doesn't come without plastic, but you really want it anyway, then you have to figure out how to make it yourself. And the internet is a wealth of information of how to make things. You know, if you just use Google and say, how do I make chocolate syrup? How do I make whatever it is you want to make? There will be instructions for how to do it. So my favorite thing is actually, it's my husband's favorite thing. You know that chocolate syrup that comes in a plastic squeeze bottle? Like Hershey's, or I don't know what you have here, but it's chocolate and you can put it on cake or ice cream or whatever. Well, he puts it on his cereal every morning with yogurt. He loves it. And so I found a recipe online for making it without any ingredients in plastic containers. So I can go to a store with bulk bins and I can get cocoa and sugar and salt, and then I can use vanilla, which comes in a glass bottle, and water, and cook it on the stove, and it's great. So I'm sure I'm sure you can think of lots of things that you like to use on a regular basis that you think only come in plastic. Check it out. Go on the internet and see if it's something that you could make yourself. You might be surprised. Oh, this is my favorite thing. I discovered that baking soda is the best deodorant I have ever used. Plain baking soda with just a few drops of essential oil added to it and shaken up, and then you just put it on under your arms with like a powder puff. It works really great. And then, you know, sometimes when things wear out that are plastic, I needed to replace them and I didn't want to buy new plastic. So when the foam pads on my headphones wore out, those foam pads are plastic, right? A type of plastic. So I went online and I Googled, make your own headphone ear pads. And there were all these instructions on Google. But you had to learn how to crochet, right? So then I was Googling how to crochet. I stayed up all night doing that, but they really work. They're great, and they're cute, right? Sometimes my experiments don't turn out that well. So I tried to make pita bread, and you know what pita bread is? It's pocket bread. It's the way it's made. It has an air pocket inside. It's like hollow inside. Those are not hollow. Those are rocks that I made in the oven. But all I'm saying is that these experiments can be really fun too, even if they don't always work out the way you want them to. One other thing that's important is, if there's something that you want that comes in plastic and there's no way to get it without plastic, at least try buying the bigger size and portion it out over a few days, rather than buying lots of little single-use containers, because then there's less packaging, even if there's still some plastic. This is the inside of my refrigerator. I use lots of reused jars, reused glass jars from foods, and also one of my favorite ways to avoid plastic wrap, plastic saran wrap, is to put leftovers. Oh, I can use this, can I? This is a bowl, and it has leftover food in it, and then I just put a saucer on top. And the reason this is so much better than saran wrap, plastic wrap, besides the fact that it's not plastic, is because you can stack things on top of it, but you can't stack things on top of plastic wrap. So I would like to invite Ahao to come up and talk about, for a few minutes, the things that she does here in Taiwan that you guys could maybe do as well. And as you're walking, that's okay, you don't have to run.
I'm so nervous.
Hold it down so it's not.
Okay. 大家好，我是阿豪，然后我很紧张，希望我可以好好把它说完。我叫阿豪，然后我是小事生活这个品牌的负责人。那我是怎么OK？ 这个品牌我们想要做的是，我们想要把无塑生活这件事情是可能的，在台湾是可能的，把它介绍给每一个在台湾生活的人。那我是怎么接触到无塑生活这个概念？我是在2012年的时候，我看到了2个人的作品，然后一个是那个环保1年不会死的作者写的这个环保1年不会死的这本书，那它的英文书名是 No Impact Man。然后另外一个就是那个 Beth 老师的部落格。那这2样东西让我最感动的，并不是他们对环保所做的努力，最让我感动的是他们愿意在自己生活中的每一件小事坚持下去。那当时我其实在一个人生非常彷徨的阶段，我觉得我人生已经完全没有希望了。那我想说，如果我连这些小事情我都没有办法做到，我都没有办法去改变的话，那我这辈子也完了。所以我就决定，我想看看我可以做到什么东西。所以我就开始带我自己的环保餐具，然后包括不锈钢吸管，然后我开始使用，因为我是女生，所以我就开始使用布卫生棉，然后我也用了竹柄的牙刷。那现在这些东西你都可以在台湾买得到。然后我会去二手商店买东西。那如果我非得要买一个新的塑胶制品的话，我会坚持去找它上面有台湾可使用的回收标志的塑胶制品。那跟大家提醒，就是如果没有那个4角形的回收塑胶制品的话，它基本上到了回收厂，它不一定会被回收，因为那一点价值都没有。然后再来说，我会准备那个用皮纸袋去买面包，因为台湾的面包其实比较油，比较不适合放在棉布袋里面。那最后一个就是我坚持帮我自己找到一个我不需要依赖塑胶就可以赚钱为生的工作。那其实我做这件事，我是开始从去年5月的时候开始记录自己的塑胶垃圾。我一开始是把这些东西 po 在我的 Facebook 上面，那很多人就来说，你这不可能做到的啦，因为塑料那么便宜，而且又那么方便，而且在台湾天气那么潮湿，我们需要很多塑胶来帮我们做食物保鲜的这件事情。那但是这件事情真的那么不可能吗？那我想邀请大家就是来做一个数学的题目，就是大家想象一下，假如今天下了课、下了班，然后你想要去买一碗干面、1碗蛋黄汤，还有1杯珍珠奶茶带回家当晚餐。那在这件事情当中，我们会制造多少塑胶垃圾？第一个可能是那个装面的纸碗的塑胶盖，然后接下来一个袋子装蛋花汤，一个塑胶的绳子绑那个袋子，然后接下来你会拿一只塑胶的汤匙，一个免洗筷上面的包装袋，然后一个装这些东西的塑胶袋子，还有一个装塑胶杯装珍珠奶茶，